Welcome back to Temple Emmanuel in Orange Village, Ohio. This week, our Torah portion is Hukkat, which means the laws. It is part of the continuing story of the Hebrews wandering or traveling through the wilderness for those 40 years between the Exodus in Egypt and reaching the Promised Land. This week's Torah portion deals a great deal with stressful and distressful situations where the Hebrews, they're not Israelites yet, that's only when they get there, where the Hebrews are dealing with problems of passages through the wilderness, their enemies are attacking them, and the situation is not too good. People are feeling a little bit unsure of themselves, and perhaps there was some economic distress as well. This week I'd like to focus on the Haftarah. The Haftarah is taken from the book of Shoftim, the book of Judges, and starts with chapter 11 of that book. Like the Torah portion, it deals with situations of war, of situations of impossible dilemmas, and it does so through the story of Yeftach. Yeftach, or Jephthah in English, was chosen to be a judge of Israel. And a judge in those days really means not a judge like a court, but a judge being a military leader. The tribes at this point are a loose confederation of related Hebrews, and they come together from time to time to fight off their common enemies and deal with their common problems, but they only do so occasionally. Ultimately, at about 1000 BCE, the kingdom will be formed. But right now, in this week's Haftarah, we're not there yet. We have Yeftach, Jephthah, hard name to say. Now, when we read about Jephthah, we find out that he would kind of be the biblical equivalent of a motorcycle gang guy, or somebody who was a bit unsavory. In fact, the Tanakh's introduction to him says that he is the son of a prostitute, which doesn't make him an evil person, but it sort of puts a shade on his background in general. Bottom line, he's kind of a low-life, marginal character. However, he's a gibor. He is viewed as a hero, as a strong man, as somebody who can save you from enemies, both real and imagined. And so, under military distress, the leaders of the tribes of the Hebrews come to Yeftach and ask him to please lead the army. They have no place else to go. He ain't a great guy. He's a bit unsavory, maybe a lot unsavory, but they're feeling so uncertain and so insecure and so helpless about their future that they turn to Yeftach. Yeftach, for his part, makes a deal with God. He says to God that if he's successful in battle, he's going to sacrifice to God as an olah, as a totally burnt offering, the first thing that comes out of his house to greet him if he gets home safely from the war. Of course, Yeftach was thinking it would be a sheep, a goat, something like that, maybe a chicken. Yeftach goes off to battle and he rescues the people of Israel. On the way back, he comes home, and the first thing that comes out of his house to greet him is his daughter, his only child. It's a horrible dilemma. The biblical story is very, very difficult. Ultimately, Yeftach sacrifices his daughter, not something we approve of. And of course, it's very hard for us to reconcile this. Even Abraham ultimately was not really called upon to sacrifice his son. What's the problem with Yeftach? The rabbis look at this story and they interpret it and they say, Yeftach was kind of a know-nothing. Yeftach was a guy who reacted to situations. He really didn't think about what he was saying, and he really didn't understand the implications of what he was promising to do. Nor did he have a plan. He promised God that he would make a sacrifice if he was successful in battle, but he doesn't think about the next step, making sure that what came out of his house was a goat and not a girl. The rabbis say, look, if this Yeftach had the brains to consult people, if he would only learn the facts of his situation, a Kohen in his day, or a rabbi in our day, or perhaps some expert in worldly affairs, would have told him that his vow was really not appropriate to begin with, and he was not under any obligation to sacrifice his daughter. It's a very modern problem. Just a couple of weeks ago, after the United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union, the day after the vote, there was an enormous spike in Google searches for the question, what is the European Union, or what is the EU? What does that mean? It means that people in the United Kingdom either voted without knowing what they were voting about, or perhaps people who didn't vote woke up the next day and said, hey, what have my neighbors just done? And went to find out about it. Even in the United States, we are in the throes of a presidential campaign where there are very few facts. There's very little expert consultation. Politicians are playing, in many cases, to our fears and to our concerns, whether they are legitimate or not. And the solutions that we're being offered are not necessarily realistic and thoughtful solutions to whatever problems we may have. Yeftach is a wonderful, important, cautionary tale. It was a cautionary tale to our biblical ancestors who said, before, when you think you're in trouble, check with the experts. It's a cautionary tale to us. The quick solution from the strong man who knows nothing but appears to be all-powerful is sometimes no solution at all. And of course, in this presidential election, I should say strong man or strong woman. And so we learned the story of Yeftach this week. A story about how one should ask questions. One should think through problems before making a knee-jerk decision. It saves us from sacrificing ourselves or our children or grandchildren. Have a great week, and Shabbat Shalom.